All right, here's my buddy Vladimir Putin. He used to send me vodka. He doesn't send me vodka. He doesn't send me flowers anymore. Nothing. But he is out there making a really good point about tech companies and the reality of what's occurring. And anybody who says that, hey, yeah, these big tech companies, it's a private company, bro. Well, Putin is the first national leader of prominence, and you'll say, well, he's an authoritarian. Of course he would say this. Compared to who? Is he a bigger authoritarian than our current president? Is he a bigger authoritarian compared to other people around the world? Is he a bigger authoritarian than President Xi? Don't think so. Anyway, Putin is the first national leader of prominence to verbalize the idea that big tech companies are in direct competition with national... Think of this. Big tech companies are in direct competition with national governments to control societies. All right, where's the microphone? Because this is a mic drop moment. Boom. All right? That sentence sums up where we're at when it comes to free speech, when it comes to this idea of hate speech and dissent, somebody who believes in freedom and liberty and justice for all, not just for some, not just make up justice for those who may have been hurt in the past. I think we should have equal protection and equal justice under the law. That would be a libertarian perspective. That is not anything that's racist or bigoted or homophobic or anything. It's equal justice under the law. That's what we ought to be doing. But these companies create this narrative, and then they create this fear. They've been using fear quite effectively on the population. This morning I woke up to find out that there are many new strains of COVID-19. And we're not sure if these vaccines are going to be effective on those. We're not even sure, by the way, if these vaccines are going to be effective on the original strain, which if you're Congressman Stephen Lynch from Massachusetts, you get the first dose, you get the second dose, and then a week later you're tested positive for COVID-19. Some people are saying that's because the virus is in the shot. It's creating, or supposedly using, your DNA to create proteins to give you antibodies, but it's also apparently giving you COVID-19. This is, I mean, we should have never gone down this road. There are countries now that are coming out saying it's more effective to let people contract the virus and use prophylactic treatments or use medications to help them get through the illness and then get to the end. Because again, we're still looking at 99.7% of the people who get this are going to be fine. Many are going to be asymptomatic. But the influence of big tech, particularly people like Twitter, Facebook, you can post something like this and then they're going to take it down. Or they're going to fact check you and going to tell you that your information is incorrect. The World Health Organization, by the way, the WHO came out and said the lockdowns do more damage than harm, but for some reason I don't see that fact check up there or that statement being used when people say, wow, we should really imagine all of these proponents of lockdowns, right? They're all over social media, and nobody comes along from these tech platforms to fact check and correct them. Well, the WHO says that lockdowns are counterproductive, that they're not helpful, that they make things worse. It's interesting. Seems to be only one point of view, and that's tyranny. Tyranny seems to be the guiding principle of what's been going on for the past year. Now, Russian President Putin on Wednesday warned against the increasing influence of large technology companies, which he said are competing with states. Now, our current king-in-chief, the corpse, has said nothing in this area, nothing at all, because he knows big tech helped him get elected. So if you're going to call out big tech, they might come after you. It's hard to imagine because there are so many people in that swamp now that are friendly and in bed with these big tech companies that I can't imagine there would be any back and forth between Biden and, say, Jack Dorsey or Mark Zuckerberg. Anyway, Putin's comments came as Russia ramps up pressure on the activities of foreign internet companies. Okay, so again, this is why I get vodka shipped to me from Vladimir Putin, because he's a good guy in this sense. He's actually looking after the interests of his own country. Now, those who have Mitt Romney's foreign policy stances on Russia will come up to me or come up to somebody and say, hey, this proves as to why Russia is our number one enemy. Because they're trying to destroy American tech companies. Oh, this is a worldwide net that Putin is trying to rein in. This isn't just an American tech company, private company that obviously has no connection to anything within our government except the CIA uses them, the FBI I'm sure uses them, the alphabet soup agencies across the board, Homeland Security, you can go on and on. These are not just economic giants. In some cases, they are already de facto competing with the state. Now, Putin has so much common sense here that it kind of like short circuits your brain. This is what he said at the Davos Virtual Economic Summit. Now, Davos is where all these world leaders carve up the entire planet and, basically make plans to, do what they're going to do to the human population, which right now, if you look at the whole Great Reset 2030 stuff, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That's their agenda. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. You'll live in a cubicle and you'll just love it. So he goes on here to say, we just saw it all in the United States, he added, referring to the riots earlier this month in Washington, led by supporters of then U.S. President Donald Trump. I would say this phrase here is debatable. I would say it was a mixture of different groups, including supporters of President Trump. Moscow earlier this week accused U.S. tech giants of interfering in Russia's internal affairs, in particular during anti-government protests led by supporters. So this is interesting. So they have an actual anti-government protest. And this isn't favorable to Putin because he's in charge, right? But yet he's willing to call it out and say, hey, this is our business. In other words, what's going on in our household, we're the ones that need to deal with that, not outside influences. We'll settle our own disputes. This is how America used to be, folks. So, again, a Kremlin critic was jailed on Saturday, and then there were anti-government protests, which apparently you can't do anywhere in the world, but Putin is trying to keep it, legal or not have this foreign influence from these tech companies. Again, it's really weird when you say tech company and foreign influence because a company is not a country, but yet it is. It could be. It could be its own virtual country, and that's what we're seeing. I mean, we're kind of living in a matrix anyway, where, landmass doesn't necessarily mean that you have a country. You can have a country if you have a company that can influence that country, whereas both entities coexist and one influences the other, but mostly it's the tech that's influencing the actual population. When you think this through, your head might explode because what we're realizing is that none of what we used to understand applies anymore. If you are being influenced day and night by television, by the internet, by entertainment culture, which again, they all kind of carry the same torch. They're all carrying the same banner forward. It's our way. It's the new world way. We're going to coexist with all these nations, and we're just going to dilute everybody's sovereignty and culture. And I'm all for diversity in culture. I'm just saying that each country has a distinctive culture, or used to. America used to be this distinct culture where all these cultures got together and agreed that they kind of wanted to be of one. E pluribus unum, right? Remember? Not anymore. Not anymore. Big tech is fueling the tribalism that we're seeing, and it's getting so out of control that it's hard to really wrap your mind around it and think that there's anything that we can do about it. Putin, though, has called it out. Biden, he won't. He won't call it out. Trump used to call it out. Tulsi Gabbard is calling it out. There are people out there who understand that this is a real threat. We hear the word existential a lot. This is more than an existential threat, which is sort of this institutional threat, and they throw that word around a lot, thinking we're all just going to start quaking in our boots when we hear it. But this is a real threat to democracy if it's allowed to continue unabated. And yeah, there needs to be legislation passed. There need to be hearings. There needs to be a fact-finding mission. I mean, every tech company that is influencing societies around the world needs to be fact-checked. You know what I'm saying? What they're doing to everybody else, the population, the world population, can put a stop to this and say, nope, we're a sovereign country. Not the world is a sovereign country, but whatever country that is, hey, we're in charge of our own destiny, not you, not some tech company trying to reform us in their image. So, again, I find this profound. Big tech companies are in direct competition with national governments to control societies. That's going to be the title of this video, and Vladimir Putin is on it, and it doesn't surprise me because he cares about his own country, and he doesn't want other countries or other entities that are behaving like countries influencing Russia to a point where it loses its national identity. America, though, is well on its way to that end if we continue on the path we're on.